to know that we have them covered. We have their back.
$10,000 a month in a retainer plus $2,000 a month in a HubSpot contract.
Here's the audience. Here's the exposure. Here's the value. Here's what I believe we can get in return.
Help the partners make more money.
Don't expect you to start sharing our solution.
Welcome to Make Them Famous, the podcast about partner enablement.
The only podcast to uncover both how partner teams enable their partners
and how other department leaders enable their partner teams to achieve success.
All right, welcome back to Make Them Famous, the podcast where we uncover what is really working inside of top partner programs by interviewing two people on either side of the equation. In this episode, we hear from one of the best partner marketing leaders on the planet, Mr. Mark Kilens, CMO of Airmeet. And with him is one of the most experienced partnerships people coming out of sales, Airmeet's new VP of Partnerships and Channel Sales, Miss Rhonda Scher. Rhonda was deep into sales before working in her first partnerships role over at Hopin. Mark cut his teeth building HubSpot's renowned partner and user training programs before running marketing at companies like Drift and now, of course, Airmeet. During our talk today, the three of us will work to uncover what partnerships mean to Mark, Rhonda, and to Airmeet, the importance of partnerships for both Mark and Rhonda in their careers and objectives at Airmeet, how partnerships lends itself to Mark's core growth framework, types of partners Rhonda is working with, how Rhonda put together marketing requests, what Mark needs from partnerships to treat a request from the partnership team like an opportunity and not an obligation, what can stop the partnership effort in its tracks if the partner person doesn't plan ahead, how to take your tech integrations partnerships hat off while dealing with solutions partners, what happens next after marketing approves a collaboration with partnerships, KPIs, and of course, what is going to happen next. This is an excellent episode to share with your marketing team or CEO. But as usual, before we start, please take a minute and listen and hear from our amazing sponsors. Well, we could not make this podcast famous without help from our sponsors. For sponsorship, we looked to three platforms that help you find, activate, enable, and manage your partner program. These three tools may be the only tools that you'll need to effectively run partnership. The tools in question are Reveal for account mapping and running co-selling operations, Partner Stack for scaling a multi-tiered commission-centric program, and Partner Hub for working closely day-to-day with MSPs, managed service providers. Partner Stack probably needs no introduction, They work with top tech companies like Monday.com, Unbounce, Intercom, and Webflow. And it's a company that we recommend when you are ready to scale your commission-centric, usually a multi-tiered partner program. Check out Partner Stack to scale partnerships. Reveal, again, when you're ready to really get into the revenue operation of partnerships, that means that you want to map accounts, see what the overlap is, see who I'm targeting that you're also targeting, see who I'm targeting that you're not targeting, and come up with a strategy to get those accounts into my pipeline, into your pipeline, and to build that pie, that bigger and bigger pie together. Oftentimes, you'll invite a partner to an account mapping solution that has a paywall too early, which is prohibitive for a lot of the target audiences that our partner programs are after, the digital agencies. If you invite them to Reveal, you can trust that they won't hit a paywall. There's 360 account mapping UI in Reveal for free, and it is at reveal.co. Finally, Partner Hub, again, it's a partner operations platform. Partnerships has a lot going on. Who's doing what at what stage in the partnership are the questions that many of my partner managers ask themselves. Partner Hub is here to solve for what are we doing with partnerships, who's doing what, where are our partners, and if we need to find more, are we able to go and shop for more partners? Partner Hub answers all of those questions with yes, and it is free. It's free for top tech companies like Apollo, AudioEye, Smith, Growbots, Recart, Customer.io, and it's free for digital agencies like Hawk Media, Trellis, Aptitude 8, Creative Trends. A lot of these tech companies and agencies use Partner Hub to find and align with each other: MSP, managed service provider, digital agency, as well as SaaS tech companies. So check it out, partnerhub.app. And again, thank you for listening. I'll let you get back to the show. All right. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Thanks for joining me. This is a killer time to do this topic. We've been doing a lot about marketing, co-marketing, partner content operation. So I immediately thought of you two, and I wanted to get this recorded. So thanks for taking the time right before the holidays. Mark, we just did a brief piece of content. If you didn't hear that, go back one episode or two episodes, I think, and listen to Mark and I's discussion. So we're going to expand on that, brought in Rhonda, and we'll go through intros real quick so you guys all know who everyone is. Mark, start with you. Who are you? What are you up to? And anything relevant?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having us back on the show. Mark Kilens. I'm the CMO at Airmeet, virtual, hybrid, in-person event company. I mean, we're event technology, right? That helps you create really engaging attendee-first experiences for any type of audience. Could be for your marketing audience, could be for your employees, everything in between. We've been around for 3 years now. Quick plug: we have a great free product. So if you want to do some events for free, check it out. And yeah, Rhonda, she and I started working together just about 6-8 weeks ago, and she's got a lot of experience from an event standpoint. I'll let her do an intro right now.
Yeah, hi, everybody. And Alex, thanks for having me and Mark today. Appreciate being here. And yeah, my background, or actually I should start with what I do at Airmeet. I am heading up our partnerships and channel at Airmeet. And with that, I came from the channel that we're calling, that we're working with, which gives me a little extra insight into what's really important with our channel partners. So, I've worked for a few very well-known agencies, and, I think we're at an interesting time right now because the agencies are working, with the end clients, and there's a lot of flux right now, a lot of confusion as to what the event strategy is or what it should be. And these agency partners are really the trusted advisors, and they're guiding these clients through. It's an interesting time. I think when we had the original, pivot with the pandemic, everyone knew we had to shift very quickly to virtual, and we somehow figured that out. But I think we're at a time now where we're really trying to think more strategically about our event strategy and what is the right mix. Who are the right attendees? What is the right messaging? So thrilled to be here today, and happy to have this conversation.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was perfect. Rhonda, it's her first podcast, by the way, for everyone listening. But that was great. Sounds like you've done this 100 times. So I'll just do a quick screen share, show you guys Rhonda Scher. There's her awesome profile, background, awesome sales experience, like you were mentioning. Then looks like partnerships is the new career trajectory for you. Looks like you've been really successful and great at partnerships, and now you're on a great team. And then everybody, if you don't know Mark Kilens, CMO of Airmeet. And yeah, so this is a great time, like I mentioned, to do this, but also really important point in Airmeet's growth and life cycle. I like this product for this type of discussion because Airmeet is a marketing enablement product. You run events on Airmeet. So what we want to find out today, some of the things that are going on between marketing partnerships, how to make this relationship work better for the company's KPIs and OKRs. What are any individual department plans and KPIs and OKRs and endeavors, and then general thoughts on partnership strategy and co-marketing, and some advice in ways that other teams can get that done. Opinions on partnerships. So we'll start with Mark. What do you believe partnerships mean to tech and Airmeet today?
My background is HubSpot and Drift. Partner-led is fundamental to how you have to go to market these days. And partner-led means several different things. It doesn't mean just having a channel. It can mean anything from partnering closer with your customers to any type of integrators you have, to a traditional channel, to influencers, everything in between. There's a ton of different types of ways you could partner to drive business growth. Today, we're talking specifically more about like the traditional channel. In this case, it's event agencies, marketing agencies, et cetera. And, I was at HubSpot. I saw that program go from a couple dozen agencies to now thousands globally. It's over 50% of HubSpot's global revenue at this point. I saw that for 8.5 years. And you can't, like, to your point on events, you can't sell something that's complex, like inbound marketing, marketing in general, events, without having someone there to help guide you, educate you, support you in that endeavor, right? Because it's so core to their long-term value and retention of those customers. And the way you scale the ability to do that thing is through partners. And really, it comes down to how do you engage partners so they're part of your team? And if you don't think of partners as being part of your team, you're completely doing it wrong, in my opinion. So then it's like, well, how do you make partners part of your team? And we can maybe unpack that today, but that's kind of my general high level overview of the way I think about it.
Yeah, I love that partner led everything. A shout out to the guys over at Partner Hacker for making this term a little bit more prevalent in the space. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of months, I think, for Airmeet since PLX and everything that happened there. It was a great event, highlighted the product. Partnerships were obviously the focus. Again, a really good time that we're doing this. So then, Rhonda, partnerships, you came from the sales background and partnerships. Talk us through kind of how your opinion on partnership maybe has progressed, changed, anything at all there, and just where it's at today.
Yeah, happy to. First, I'd just like to go back and say, Mark, thank you for saying that, because partners are everything. I think we should, and I come at it from a sales perspective versus Mark is more on the marketing side. But I would love for us to sell 100% through our channel partners. They have insight and reach that we just do not have, and they have relationships that are established. I'm fortunate here at Airmeet because, the marketing team and sales team work so closely together. I think it also starts with, internally, the sales, direct sales and channel sales really working together as well. I think, that's kind of been a challenge forever, I think, especially among tech companies where, there's always a struggle. And I think salespeople are just wired to be individual contributors. So how do you partner internally to work together? Because, my vision is an ecosystem where we're working with these partners, they're referring clients to us and helping to walk us in. Likewise, we have clients that are looking for agency support and we can bring them in, but we still need to support the end client as well as the partner. So it's messy, but if we do this right and, we work on our, collective plans effectively, I think we all win.
I think so too. Mark, you're shaking your head in agreement. So yeah, the sales background and how that's kind of progressed your understanding of partnerships as a core leading indicator, maybe of some revenue numbers, hopefully, it depends on what teams you've been on in the past and how much partnerships late and I. But yeah, I talk to salespeople that have differences of opinions and very different opinions depending on where they came from. Really, it's really about your experience with partnerships. So it sounds like you were at some organizations that had a strong belief in partnerships, and that's helped you out a lot. And now you're obviously hired to do partnerships for Airmeet and getting that done. So let's talk about getting it done and talking about what that means between marketing and partnerships today. So Mark, let's lean on maybe some recent experiences or anything that you can draw on that may be relevant to this. But the conversation is going to lead to, okay, well, we need to get something done and we need to bring in partnerships to get that done. And how does that thought process work? And what are some examples of what you guys are doing? And then we'll talk about KPIs, and then we'll talk about go to market and get into that conversation. But is there any relevant conversation that you think is a good time to have around here's what is happening with Airmeet and here's what we're trying to get done and what partnerships mean to that right now.
Yeah, if you break it down into, I just love like simple frameworks. If you break into a framework, it's reach, relationships, retention. Partner, and Rhonda hit on a few of this. So like, how can we leverage the partners to reach the audiences we want to go after? We have very well-defined a very well-defined ICP now that's broken into a few different segments. So there's that. And then the agency, by the way, that itself is a separate kind of ICP. I would call, we actually have two ICPs. The agency is a different set of ICPs. So we're going after the right agencies together. Because at the same time, like Rhonda's going after new agencies, I need to support her going after those new agencies. But once you get a new agency, which is more the land motion, how do you work with the agency to grow the reach? And then it's like the relationships. Like they have relationships, or maybe you jointly create a relationship because you bring in a client on the direct side and you introduce them to an agency throughout the sales process, pre-sales, and that starts to nurture itself, right? So there's the relationship, and then there's the retention, which is partners are a great way at helping you retain. Like I go back to HubSpot. We don't have right now data about this at Airmeet because it's so new. But I remember like the retention rates for customers that are engaged with a partner were significantly higher than the overall retention rate of the business. And, so you looked at like those two things independent. So it's like, you want to have all three humming. So the question is, how much do you invest, right? A lot of people start with reach and those relationships. And sometimes that is appropriate, but for sometimes the business actually might want to focus more on retention, relationships and retention, depending on what you're trying to, where the business is at and what you're trying to do in the next 1 to 2 years. And that's, I think, some of the stuff that we're thinking through right now as it goes into like planning season. We're in planning season. How much do we rely on partners for helping strengthen our retention and those relationships, et cetera, versus reaching both, reaching new ones, new customers? I think it's probably both. Love to hear what Rhonda thinks. But sometimes you have to like pick one or the other, right? And you have to also just think about your investments in those things as well, because they definitely have different levels of investment from at least a marketing standpoint. And even depending on how you decide to set up the sales team, there'd be different investments as well. And those investments can also impact customer success, because depending on how much you want to staff up your customer success team versus leaning on the channel, that will also dictate things too.
Wow. Well, Mark, that was great. And I completely agree. I love that we're so aligned. I would just even add to the reach. It's not just getting to the right client relationship, but also across that organization. Yesterday, I had a really interesting conversation with a partner, and they consult in terms of event technology. And so often one group that we might be working with, the marketing team, and they might be using our platform for their customer conference or sales for their sales kickoff partner summit. But others, just educating other departments within the organization and using, leveraging the license they have, and you're just bringing that awareness to other teams. So how do we expand across, a client organization so they're getting, the full benefit of that license? So that was interesting. And another point, as you brought up, we have, within the ICP, a partner, we have several different types of partners. They're not all treated equally, or they don't all look the same. So, it's really up to us to understand their, true advantage, their value prop, their expertise, and how do we leverage that and work with them for the right, to support the right clients.
I love it. And everybody likes to know the what and the how of all this. So, if there is a good example, let's do that. If we want to create one, let's do that. But it's kind of like something has to get done, and we need to bring what types of partners into that, and how are we going to bring those, and then what are we measuring afterwards? And then the big thing with partnership managers is, how do I bring that into marketing's calendar? How do I bring that into an email memo? And what about that is going to be something that the marketing team will look at as an opportunity and not an obligation, right? So, draw on whatever you want, but let's do, Rhonda, I want to go back to you for a quick sec. You got to get something done, real experience or made up, whatever you want to do. But talk me through just kind of your mentality on, I got to get something done. It's going to need marketing. What are the thought processes and what are the actual processes that take place next? And then we'll go to Mark and hear some of his anecdotes or just answers to what Rhonda says.
Oh, fantastic. Can I get Mark's commitment here that he'll follow through
Feel
on
free to make this a real ask with
Real
budget and numbers.
I think we really need to dive deep into what's going to resonate for these agency partners. What do they need? Because their needs are a little bit different. I would say, they're tasked as this trusted advisor to their client to always come in with fresh ideas. So not just that we have these features, functionalities, but using them in unique ways to solve for their clients, needs. So, thinking outside the box. I think at the end of the day, what they really want is they want to know that we have them covered, we have their back, because they know how to run, an event. But, when something goes wrong, when something, is out of place, they want to know they have immediate access and that we can jump in and quickly respond, take care of whatever that problem is. So I think it's really just thinking through what's really top of mind for these partners, and how we can support them effectively and also enable them. So a big part of my job is to make sure they've got the right resources and tools to be successful with their clients. So, Mark, back to you.
That's good. I agree. I mean, we need to figure out how to help the partners make more money. It's the simplest way I put it. So at HubSpot, Pete Caputa, I should say Pete Caputa did this. Pete's a great guy. If you haven't looked at Pete Caputa, he's a legend when it comes to all things partner. He realized after working with probably, 30, 40 agencies, their agency strategy needed to change from doing one-off projects and focused on design work and not quantifiable work to retainer-based and outcome-based. And we're gonna help you generate leads. We're gonna actually have real ROI in some form that we can justify you spending $10,000 a month on a retainer plus $2,000 a month on a HubSpot contract, right? So it's $100,000 investment, something like that. So we got to figure out where are these agencies struggling, where's the opportunity, and then lean in really hard there, and that then helps them transform / grow their business a bit. That's, I think, the holy grail for any channel. And as soon as you start to do that, and you have these agencies saying, well, yeah, we're doing this, we're seeing great success, it's way better than our business in the past, you should naturally be able to attract a lot of agencies and start to really blow up the ecosystem around that type of agency. And then what's happened actually with HubSpot is the ecosystem blew up so much. What's so interesting right now is now some consolidation has happened, and all these people are winners because some of these agencies, these bigger ones, buy the smaller ones, but everyone wins at the end of the day for the most part because they're all making money, right? They've all made money, now they're making more money, right? And it's very interesting to see everything that's happened over the last 15 years with HubSpot. And I do think we have the same opportunity at Airmeet. Be patient. It's gonna take 10, 15 years, maybe, but to me, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Make them famous, make them money, whatever your catchphrase is. Pete's was make them famous. Yeah, we give Pete a ton of credit on the show. We can't say enough about the guy. So we have to kind of put your, let's just say you're a non-progressive CMO, Mark. Let's pretend you're not a progressive CMO, and you look at marketing as, I've got my stuff I need to get done, and partnerships is kind of knocking on my door and needs stuff and wants stuff. And I haven't drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, yet on partnerships. Let's pretend. So Rhonda has a big thing that she wants to include. Let's make it simple and not too big. So let's say that she brings me to the table. I've got an event that I want to do. And Rhonda's like, I want to work with this partner hub and partner programs. I think they're going to bring a lot of exposure to Airmeet, and I want to do an event series with them, and they're going to need some stuff from us, and I need you to kind of be okay with this. And what do you need from Rhonda and the partnerships team to be able to say, yeah, that actually aligns with my KPIs, that will be an opportunity for us to increase our KPIs on the marketing team, and I don't see this as an obligation because I'm going to need assets from you. May need some blog posts, may need some designs, maybe. What do you need from Rhonda and her team?
I mean, this kind of just happened the other day. She had an ask about joining a call, and I basically asked one, if not both these questions: who and what. So who's the audience? What types of businesses are these people joining from? That's where everything starts. Any good marketer, any good salesperson just starts with that. And if those things align to enough of a degree, we'll entertain it. So if it really aligns, it's on like this, kind of spectrum. It's like, holy crap, this is like an amazing opportunity. It's like penetrating 80% of our ICP accounts. It's the exact title. I might stop doing something that we're planning for Q1 or whatever to focus on this, because that's the bigger opportunity with higher leverage. It's a really simple answer, actually. It's the who and the what.
The who and the what. And then if there is money, resources. So who and the what. So it's these guys, they need to do this. And then again, if you're a little bit of friction and you kind of don't believe partnerships is going to be the growth driver that partnerships believes they are going to be, and you don't say that out loud, but you think that, and some CMOs still do, unfortunately. Let's say what do you need tangibly? Like, I need Rhonda to put together blank, bring that to the next meeting, and then I'll consider it. And that could be
it's the who and the what of the partnership, right? It's like who is this, by partnering with this company or group of companies or agencies, what access to their audience, what's their audience look like, and from what types of businesses, right? So like that there's that. And then I should just be able to do simple math. Like, so I'll just push back on the CMO, then be like, hey, if you don't know your who and the what, you have problems, fix that first. Second, if you don't understand the average ACV or just high level conversion rates of going after that who and what. And I would treat this, by the way, just as for people listening, I would treat this as more like a third-party event content syndication velocity. So it's going to take, for most things, like, at minimum, like 60, but like 90, 120, maybe 180 days for these things to mature potentially, because I wouldn't want to set higher expectations. I could be wrong there. If you really want to get scientific with this, I would say, great, like, show me the accounts that these partners think are going to have at this event. Give me a sample list, give me something like that. And let me rip that through 6 Sense or Demandbase or something like that. And let me see how many people are in market. How far are they in market? Are they not in market? So yeah, you can get really scientific, but again, like, you can't, all of this is predicated on the fact you understand at a high level your ideal customer profile, and you understand the general ROI that could be had from doing this thing.
I was just going to say, Mark, I'm coming at you with a real live request. I need to come to the table with, here's the audience, here's the exposure, here's the value, here's what I believe we can get in return for showing up this way at this event to this audience with this message. So I know I speak your marketing language, but, I consider it, really my job to identify the right opportunities and the right way to use that marketing spend, because we do have limited resources, limited funds. And, I want to be careful about where we spend that investment to get the most for it. So I think Mark and I are very aligned that way. Like I said, I am coming to you with a real hot one soon. So watch for that. I will put a full brief together so you have all the information you need.
That's a pro.
No, it's good.
I was just about to put something in chat, but the caveat to this is, and what I see happen a lot, and I get it back to me all the time too. And a good anecdote is, somebody wants to interview you for a podcast, and there's a middle person in between that, and the middle person invites you to the podcast. And then they get a list. What happens in the background? They get a list of people that they want to include in this podcast that have said yes. And then they take it to the podcast owner, the show, and this is like an agency that did this. And they say, these are the people that I want to include. And then that person says, okay, well, we need to pick 3 of these people. And I need you to go back and get audience numbers from each one of those people. And then we can weigh who's the most valuable. And then that person says, okay, I'll just do that. And they go back and they ask these people, okay, now I need you to prove your value to me so that we can get you that spot. And it creates such a terrible start to whatever that could potentially be. And oftentimes it does break the potential for the partnership to unfold in its tracks, because obviously you would look at that like, now you reached out to me. Why am I now? And this happens in partnerships. It's almost like, are we partnering, or are you just trying to get after my audience? And now you need me to prove I have that audience, and you're the one who reached out to me, and it creates this bad experience. But comment on that real quick. I want both of your comments on that. Mark.
I'll give you another framework: effort over impact. Podcast effort is low and the impact could be high or low. Like it's probably gonna be low, but like it's low effort. Like I don't like put everything on a spectrum of effort over impact, right? Or just box into a 2x2. As long as the audience in that case is generally aligned, like this is how this podcast happened. I'm like, Rhonda, come on this podcast. I think the audience is generally aligned. Like, let's just like, she's probably still like, why did you pull me into this? I don't want to do this. But, to me, that's like just relationship building. It's like, this is just a conversation that we're having in this case, in this format that builds a relationship and builds maybe a relationship in a kind of one-to-many way with the listeners. So fine, that's nothing. But like if I go back to the extreme examples, like no, we want to do an event and it's a $25,000 or $50,000 commitment to that event together. Whoa, way different. I need at least again, I think a good marketer, smart marketer will be like, let me unpack this a bit. Unless you just raise like $100 million round of funding, maybe it's not as important, but I treat my marketing budget like it's my own money. So I'm not a cheap person, but I'm a thoughtful person. I actually like to buy the more expensive things because I think that's in the long run the better investment. There's just lots of studies about that. That's a whole other side conversation. But I'm not going to just buy something really expensive or whatever, like just without doing like due diligence, if you will, and like thinking through it and thinking both short and long term.
I love it. Okay, perfect. Yep, I see that, Rhonda. That's no problem at all. And I guess where I was getting at is a situation where you want partnerships to be pretty fluid in the beginning. You're meeting each other. Both sides are thinking the same thing. Like, what are you going to do for me type thing? And what is it going to be for me? So one side always feels like they're the ones that are more valuable to the relationship. And unfortunately, both sides always feel like they're the ones that are more valuable to the relationship. And where this gets into, yeah, exactly. Rhonda chatted dating before commit. Perfect. Yeah. The analogy is your relationship with your spouse. It's a partnership. You dated first, you met each other, you did something, and we don't need to get into that. But the where this kind of gets into conflict is like most partnerships are tech partnerships. Most of the business of partnerships are integrations and go to market and integrations and go to market. And that's what most partnership people are used to. And most companies are used to. Marketing gets in on it. They know we're going to integrate with Salesforce. We've got to put together go to market. We've got Salesforce, other integration partners that are included in that. And it's this big thing. But as soon as you go downstream to the people on the ground floor, which are the solutions partners, that's when you can't apply the same lens and the same strategy to those people that you did the Salesforce partnership. I think that happens a lot. It's like you look at it like if I were to bring Mark a go-to-market for an integration with Salesforce, it would be easy. It'd be like, okay, well, Salesforce versus HubSpot, which one's audience is more aligned and what are the numbers? I could pull all that stuff. And I could hand Mark a card that just has a grid on it. Salesforce is here, HubSpot's here, and here's all the numbers. And Mark could say, we're doing that one first and that one second. It's clear as day. But if I bring you two HubSpot partners and I want to do a co-marketing event with one of them, the numbers don't look the same and they're a lot lower and you don't understand what's going on there. And then many marketing teams, that's where it kind of stops. It's like, why am I even talking to you about this? This person has a 2,000 customer newsletter and they deal with 50 customers. What is the angle and why are we bringing them into content? What are we doing? And that's where it kind of falls flat. So Mark, what do you see? What is your opinion there? I know you are on the far right of the partnership spectrum, but most people are on the middle left. So let's put the middle left.
I'll bounce around. No. This is. I mean, art of negotiation, art of relationship building. This is. I think the get-give here is perfect, right? You have to think. You have to think for some of these things. You have to think bigger, right? Like some things that I would do is like I'd go to the person's, LinkedIn or any other thing I could find on them on the internet, and try to understand what's their individual network look like. Forget their company. Like who is this person? Like, is this someone I want to have in my network and in my partner ecosystem potentially for like a long time? So if you're doing some investigation more at the personal level versus the company level, and you're thinking of this less as like a pure transaction in the moment, you have to do that. Like you have to do that, right? So it's not a zero-sum game. I will say that it's partnerships are all about people. That's the only way they happen. Like Rhonda will, I'm sure, talk about. It's just a straight compromise. So how do you get to the point of the compromise? Sometimes you have to do things and try things and know that they might have only a 20% success rates or really bring in the expected or desired result, but you still do it for those other reasons, or just because you have to learn. Especially in the early days of a program, you don't want to be overly scientific. So like Rhonda and I will do things that are like bets, I'd say. And like we have a culture definitely of like, at least in the marketing team, one of our values is experiment to learn. Experiment to grow. And that value, experiment to grow, is defined around that learning principle. Like it's fine to fail. You will not be punished. We need to fail. That's the only way we will actually get better. So I view partnerships like that too. Sometimes they just will not work out, and it is what it is.
Just to add to that, I think it's really important to understand that, again, the partnerships, they all look different and different, audiences, different needs. And it takes time to build those relationships, and some are the right ones and some aren't. And, it just takes time to really understand who you really are truly aligned with and how you go to market together. But, I think you have to have that trust, and it takes a while. They're not just going to open up and say, here, have access to all my clients, even their personal network. I think people are probably being more careful than ever about just, opening the kimono. So I hate that term, but, I think there has to be trust in any good long-term relationship.
Agreed. Okay, so let's put the wheels on the ground a little bit and say, okay, well, we're past the pitch to Mark, and Mark has given us the green light to do something partner focused, and he's got some resources he's going to lend in, and partnerships is going to do their thing. What is your experience on next steps, Rhonda? What would you suggest other partnership teams make sure to get done, and how do you work with marketing in general, and how do you plan or do work with Mark's team in getting partnership XYZ done? Is there a specific process? Is it more fluid? Draw on any past or current experiences.
Yeah, I approach it where I like to have everybody has skin in the game. I want to invite partners to participate where it makes sense. Participate in the conversation, or, an event that's coming up, provide insight, as well, what are we delivering to them, right, to help their business grow and meet their metrics. So, there's no one answer, one way, but I think, Mark and I work very closely together, and, to his point, we're trying different things. Some work, some don't, and we'll continue to grow.
Love it. Mark, what's your stance on how should the orchestration of partnerships and marketing unfold in a ideal scenario?
Well, yeah, maybe what you're getting at is like, at the end of the day, you have to, and this has evolved over time in my past two organizations, both Drift and HubSpot had partner channels, and they were pretty strong. Right? HubSpot was by far the stronger than Drifts, but it's engaged partners. And what do you mean by an engaged partner? Early on, an engaged partner could be, like you've been saying, just do an event with you, and the event, and they drive stuff from that event, et cetera. But really at HubSpot, that definition got much more refined over time. And it was like, you're certified and you're bringing in X amount of deals per quarter, or you're managing this many people, right? So I think it's about how do you want to build a joint, and this is kind of why I asked that question just a moment ago. How do you want to build? You can't think of partnerships in like 3-month sprints or 6-month sprints. You have to think of them in 1 to 2 or 3 year cycles, right? Because it takes so much effort to create this momentum in these relationships that you have to have a plan together. So you have to plan strategically, and you have to think about, well, how much then, if you work more bottoms up, how much revenue do you want to create, or do you think you could create over time from this? And and why do you think that? When you get into the tactics of like the month to month, quarter to quarter stuff, the biggest thing that you can do is you just kind of make sure you just do simple things like use UTMs. You make sure that you can track this correctly in Salesforce, in marketing automation. Make sure that the direct team knows what's going on too, right? Because like we talked about at the beginning, Rhonda mentioned this, there's going to be conflict and overlap in some ways. You just have to make sure there's some type of communication there. That's what I'd be looking out for, because the worst thing you can do is have the channel hurt the brand's reputation because you have 2 or 3 people from the company and the channel partner going after an account, stepping on each other's toes, and it just looks really bad. Like for me as a CMO, like that's a massively bad brand experience.
Rhonda, you had some stuff in chat there. So very few partners, very few engaged partners trumps volume of passive partners. So you want to quickly get them as engaged as possible. And co-marketing, I think, is just such a fantastic and easy way to win, get that triple win scenario with new partners and quickly start the reciprocity engine is what it is. You want to like crank that engine. And if I send you a contract and there's a non-disclosure and a non-compete in that, and don't really even know you that well, and you've got 5 other tools that are just like yours that I could quickly head over, stuff like that. So if I bring you into an event, I showcase you, put your face everywhere, put you in some content, make you famous, starts that reciprocity flywheel. So let's do final thoughts as we only have 2 minutes. Rhonda, your advice to people that were in your shoes that are going into partnerships and they need to work closely with marketing to get their job done. Talk to those people real quick and give them some final tips, some things that you may have learned late and wish you had learned earlier, and anything at all related to partnerships and marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Off the top of my head, I would say it's critical to really try to walk in their shoes, try to really understand what is important to your partners. I think having the right partners, having them engaged really takes time to get to know them. And that way, I can go back to marketing, Mark, and say, here's what they need. Can we work together to accomplish this? So I would say definitely, that, and then it just, takes time. Try to be patient. Although, that said, I have a difficult time with patience myself. But you have to build these relationships, build the trust, earn their trust before, they're willing to walk you into their clients. Not all partners are the same, and just make sure they know that at the end of the day, you have their back.
Love it. Great words. Mark, any final thoughts? And then we'll let you guys go.
That's well said. It's well said. I really like how she said putting yourself in like the shoes of the partner. It's like, they say customer at the center of everything, partner at the center of everything. So I need to have someone on the marketing team, at least one person who's like thinking day and night and working with those partners just as much as like Rhonda, the sales people are. Don't make the marketing investment too late when it comes to stuff. You can do experimentation. Like Airmeet has been experimenting with partners for a couple of years now. Same with HubSpot early days. But then once you start to see some early success, you see a bigger vision or future potential, you got to make that marketing investment along with those sales investments early, or you'll sacrifice long-term things, right? I just can't stress that enough.
I love it. Make it earlier, make the marketing investment earlier, empathize, treat your partners like people, get to know them, figure out what's going to work, and then find more of those and keep going. Love it. Rhonda, great to meet you. This is the first time meeting. Mark, always a pleasure. Check out Airmeet if you haven't checked it out. Killer platform for anything and everything in online events. Take care, everybody.